pod cave.
And welcome back to another edition of the Podmen. I'm Brad.
I'm Brian.
I'm Podman Ron.
There he is, and Podman Ron's about to boost it up in his house.
Sit up in the house.
Well, Podman Ron, it's been a while since we've gathered, and you know,
Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? That's y'all's fault.
I don't know. I mean, it's just not much to talk about until now.
There's a shitload of talk about. We could have talked about Obi Wan. We could have talked about.
We're going to do that now, though.
Strange things. We talked about Miss Marvel. Shitload of things to talk about.
Well, let's go back on the text and figure out where it all fell apart, Brian.
Exactly.
Anyway, what are we talking about?
All right. Well, we got a little bit of news, but and a little bit of news and a little bit of sad news. And we are going to talk about Obi Wan. Maybe not necessarily Miss Marvel, but
is that the sad news?
That's the sad news. And of course, Love and Thunder, Thor: Love and Thunder, the big movie that I'm assuming you two have seen.
I have.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I've seen it.
I'm glad some of us have. But first, let's go to the news. Brian, we were talking in the green room. We have it's been quite a while. I don't know when we recorded last, but there has been. It looks like June 20th.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, so it's been almost a month.
Yep.
Almost, yeah, close to a month. A lot of stuff going on. Give us some news. What's some news that is not 3 weeks old?
Well, we got exactly. We got a trailer and a premiere announced for Harley Quinn season 3. It's coming out July 28th. The big get, I guess, is James Gunn is going to make a cameo and play himself in the new season.
Of what?
Harley Quinn.
This is going to be a tough one.
Sorry, guys.
If Pop and Ron's checked out on the first news report.
No, sorry. I may have had too much rum and whatever I had else, but go ahead.
All right, he's doing his best Johnny Depp impersonation tonight.
I am doing Johnny Depp tonight.
So yeah, Harley Quinn's coming back in a week or so on HBO Max. I enjoyed the first 2 seasons. I think I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a good show. I mean, it's high quality. It's honestly worth a second viewing. I kind of look at it in the same vein as Venture Brothers.
Yep.
Lots of. Have you watched Harley Quinn?
I watched the first few seasons. Episodes, but it's all right.
It's all right.
You need to go back through. So now that you can power through it instead of watching it once a week, you get that what is it? Binging boost.
You get that
from
Quinn
watching
attitude.
the show.
Yeah, you'll enjoy.
That's
it.
right.
You'll enjoy
it.
All right. So James Gunn's going to
show.
be guest starring, playing himself. So there you go.
Thoughts on that, PMR?
James Gunn's playing himself
In the show, yeah.
That's what the report is.
Oh, what's his self? What is James Gunn is? I don't get it.
I assume that he's going to be playing himself, as in James Gunn is going to be animated, and he's going to be providing the voice, and the character that he's going to be playing is himself.
But why?
Is that what I'm understanding here, Brian?
I think so.
That's
ridiculous.
It's a little bit.
That sounds desperate. That sounds desperate.
Breaking the fourth wall, right? Because he directed the Suicide Squad film, right? So
I guess.
All right. Well,
good for them for wanting to do something wacky like that. But
Yeah, good for them.
It
ain't for me.
That there's some other things they could do that would be a little bit more entertaining. But
we've got
if you want to get a director and animate them and put them in the cartoon, that's wacky. That's great.
Yep.
I feel like we're debuting OCPRM, Old Curmudgeon Podman Ron. It's a new character.
I don't know if new is right. I think we've seen him before.
What's going on in the world today? Just sit back, Brad.
Directors being animated into cartoons. What the fuck?
Who is watching? Like, who gives a shit
we can't
if
spend
James
any more
Gunn?
time.
I mean,
You're right.
being animated. I mean, other than us, a bunch of fanboys who know the fuck James Gunn.
Yeah, no one knows who he is. Yeah.
Who the fuck knows who James Gunn is? And they're animating him to be in a wacky episode of Harley Quinn. And
I know.
okay, that's great, but all right, I guess. Yeah.
All right, next news article, Brian.
Sorry, he wound down. All right.
Just wait him out.
Thanks for sitting back and letting me rant for a minute.
This could be our easiest one. We just lob something to PMR, let him rant for 3 minutes.
Yeah. Obi Wan, go.
Oh, wait, no. Yeah, we'll get there in a second. We got another release date for Quantum Leap, September 19th, and it's going to debut on NBC.
Oh, on NBC Prime. Not just
NBC Prime,
not just Peacock. Okay, very good.
And it's going to be sandwiched with The Rock and The Voice, so they're giving it a prime time slot. So, Young Rock.
Oh my God, NBC, how far are you fallen?
Young Rock is like their most successful sitcom.
I believe you. I'm just saying that.
Well, yeah.
Whoever knows.
Who
knew who this Rock
you
person
can't make fun of anybody in a sitcom anymore, so you just gotta have wacky Young Rock, and
And the other 5 children that his father fathered.
Yeah, I mean, they're
all strangers. That's a different.
Sober up.
That's on the wrestling cast. What else you got, Brian?
We've got Barbara Broccoli is the producer of James Bond has chimed in and said that it's going to be a while before we're getting a new James Bond. They're going to go back to the they're going to reinvent James Bond for the
back to the well.
millennium. Not go back to the well.
They're going to go to another
because
well.
they figured out that no one gave a shit about them in this millennium.
That's probably true.
They're like
the millennium that hated Bond.
No one gave a shit about James Bond anymore, so we better do something different.
No, that sounds about right.
I mean, it really did. I mean, think about it. That last movie came and went with barely a thud. No one gave a shit. And no. I mean, James Bond died. No one.
It could have had James Gunn in it, and no one would give a shit.
Well, might as well. I mean,
here's the actual quote from Barbara Broccoli.
They said no one gave a shit about James Bond.
Yeah, that's what it says right here. Nobody's in the running. We're working out where to go with him. She did say him,
or her.
And we're talking that through. There isn't a script, and we can't come up with one until we decide how we're going to approach the next film, because really it's a reinvention of Bond. We're reinventing who he is, and that takes time. I'd say the film is at least 2 years away.
All right. Podman Ron, you have your hand up?
Yeah. My whole thing with James Bond right now is I think what they're going to do, I can do the Nostradamus thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is Nerdstradamus.
But I think what they're going to do is they're going to make it like Avengers. I mean, they're like the Marvel Universe. They're going to make a universe of James Bond. So we're going to, because they've realized that that's where we're. What am I trying to say?
Uh-oh. Yeah. Have a sip of coffee. What did they realize?
I can't hardly hear you guys. But anyway, what they realized is they need a universe. I mean, they need to start out James Bond and make it coherent again, where it's you have the character that's going to be James Bond for a little bit, and you can branch them off in different stories, because no one gives a shit about something that's going to be retooled every 2 or 3 years. I mean, it just doesn't work anymore. So I think they're gonna go back to the basics, and instead of making James Bond that's his birth name, I think they're gonna make it that's his secret agent name, is 007 is the secret agent, and then they can, if one James Bond is killed or what have you, they can pass the name and everything off to another James Bond. That's just what I think. So.
I like that. Or just have a bunch of double O's, right? And like you said, it's the Avengers, except for here's 001, 002, 00 whatever.
Right. Yeah,
why not?
Make a universe out of the, everything canon, and make a universe out of it all instead of what they've been doing.
And they've all got their own specialty, right?
And all nicknames. and then they're kind of like G.I. Joe.
Exactly. Brad knew exactly where I was heading. You just pitched G.I. Joe the movie.
Yep. There you go.
Well, because they can't get a G.I. Joe the movie that's worth the shit off the ground. So, might as well beat them to it. Because God only knows that's been handed to them on a silver platter, but no one seems to fucking can do anything with it. So why not James Bond do something with it?
Why not James Bond do something with it?
All right. Oh, there he goes. He just hung up.
Okay. Phew, now we can get through these.
If we just let him rant between them, we got like 4 hours worth.
Uh-oh,
here he is. He's back.
Damn it. He's here.
All right. So, Brad, you may have heard this one. Nexstar nears a deal to acquire the majority control of the CW networks.
Yeah.
Or CW network, right? So this may be the end of the Arrowverse as we know it, right? With HBO Max.
It's just barely hanging on, yeah.
HBO Max canceled so many things already. And then, HBO Max is trying to pick up the content and launch stuff, so this may be the end of the Arrowverse.
Wait a minute, isn't Flash still like limping along in there somewhere?
He barely.
It's got one more season, and then Superman and Lois have been renewed for another season, but that's it. That's the only two. I don't even know that Stargirl's been renewed.
I don't think it has, but maybe wrong.
Are you serious? Stargirl is great. And both Stargirl and Superman and Lois is probably the best thing that I've been watching lately. I mean, that's actually a really good show.
Well, again, some former version of it will probably live on, maybe just not on CW.
Then we've got Obi Wan Kenobi. We'll talk about the season finale and everything later on, but it was revealed after the season finale that Tamura Morrison was supposed to come in and play Captain Cody in Obi-Wan. Captain Cody from Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Remember, Obi-Wan always kind of partnered. They had like a second in the Clone Army.
Right.
And so Obi-Wan always partnered with Captain Cody, and Anakin always ended up partnering with Captain Rex.
Right.
So, but Cody was the one that had the yellow armor. And apparently that was the whole storyline. It was supposed to be pretty involved, but Cody was on Tatooine with Obi-Wan, so it's like he had his drinking buddy and his guy that he palled around with and went on, adventures. They worked at the same butcher shop, that sort of thing. But they
butcher.
They played hide the meat with each other. Well, I mean, that's what Obi-Wan did. He hid meat.
He did hide that meat.
He hid meat. Maybe he was bringing the meat back to Captain Cody.
Could be.
Then we've got several comments about Avatar, the new Avatar film.
Can we just skip this?
Can't wait for that one.
Well, this I want to get your opinion on this stuff, PMR.
Who wants to watch Avatar?
I think you could guess his opinion.
Yeah. Who wants to? All right. So let me see how these hit you, and let me finish. Let me get all of these out because there's several pieces. One, the film is no less than 3 hours long.
Jesus Christ.
He has said that he may not come out and direct all, because they've greenlit 4 more movies, or at least he's got in pre-production 4 more Avatar movies.
That's insane.
He's now saying this is 3 hours. He has no idea if there is any audience that even wants to see this.
Right.
He's right. There's not.
That's a good suspicion.
I can answer that question for him.
He may not direct the final 2.
I hope no one cares.
Yeah. And apparently Sigourney Weaver is now going to play the daughter of Jake and Neytiri.
And the sad thing is no one knows who that is and no one cares.
No one knows any of those people. Yeah.
I mean, oh my God, it's so sad.
So we got lots of updates on Avatar, The Way of Water, coming out later this year.
Well, we all got treated to a trailer for it in the last
really?
Thor.
Oh.
Yeah, at least I did, unfortunately. And you know what? It was just as boring as I remember it.
We've got a script leak for Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah.
Did you guys read that I posted?
Yeah. Go through that real quick.
I saw that you posted something.
So essentially, Kraven the Hunter, it's going to focus on Dimitri, who's Kraven's son, and he doesn't hunt animals. He doesn't hunt animals. He hunts men. There's a poaching ring. There's
always looking for a good man.
Oh yeah.
There's a poaching ring
that's these days in 2022 is not hunting men.
that's true. Robin is. Superman is. I mean, we're all.
Goddamn, man. I feel left out. I should be goddamn hunting men. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm sorry, it's not Dimitri, it's Sergei. So Sergei Kravenov is Kraven the Hunter's son.
There's only 2 Russian names. It's Dimitri or Sergei.
Yeah.
Take your pick.
So there's poachers that are killing animals. Sergei dons the costume to hunt them down. He thinks the ring is
already, and I'm watching.
You're just going to have to wrap it up quickly.
I know. He thinks the ring's run by Chameleon, so we'll get Chameleon's debut, and then you find out Kraven the Hunter is the actual bad guy.
Interesting.
So
I'm not even
father versus
confused.
All right.
Instead of like Spider-Man versus Kraven, which is what it's supposed to be.
It could be another way to go. Having Spider-Man versus an enemy. Why not?
Sony will realize, I think, one day that no one gives a shit about Spider-Man's shitty villains, and will just make a Spider-Man movie. I mean, Marvel gave them on a silver platter a way to make a Spider-Man movie and continue their shitty little universe, but they continue to do this stupid Morbius and Kraven and all this other shit that no one wants to see and no one gives a shit about. So it boggles my mind. I swear to God, pay me a $500,000 and let me work for these studios, and I could do a shitty job just as well as these others.
Give you a bottle of rum and you'd be at it.
There you go.
God damn it. I mean, really? I mean, who's doing this shit? Who's telling these people that this is good stuff?
Well, not Kevin Feige, because rumor is that Kevin Feige, there's memos that went around between him and Sony where he's telling them they got to stop trying to clone the Marvel Universe. They got to stop.
Shit.
They got to stop diluting the characters and
they're not cloning the Marvel Universe. They're totally fucking. I mean, they're just pulling a character here and there that are villains at that, and they're trying to make a movie out of it, and it's not working because no one gives a shit about these fucking villains. I mean, and then the movies are terrible. I mean, they can't even make the movies interesting. I mean, they make them god-awful terrible. So quit doing that shit. I mean, you're ruining your villain pool for if you do want to make a Spider-Man movie. There's no reason they couldn't make an Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie right now in Sony universe and parade all these stupid fucking villains that they keep wanting to do and make a universe out of that. I mean, Marvel pretty much handed it to them with this last Spider-Man movie, but they keep wanting to do these solo movies with these fucking terrible villains. And
well, maybe they're just trying to build up the villains so that they'll bring Spider-Man and they all get killed. People will enjoy seeing these people die. Right?
Nobody cares about any of this shit. I mean, that's what's sad. I mean, you would have thought Morbius would have been like, oh shit, no one gave a shit. Let's do something different. But no, let's make Kraven and make no one give a shit about him too, and make him an animal lover. And oh my God, bye.
All right, he's had enough. I've had enough. All right, well, listen, we got a lot of other things to get to here. Brian, give us one last news bite here. Give us
one last news. So apparently there's a company, I believe it's based in Saudi Arabia, and they are proposing a flying cruise line. Essentially, it's going to be a nuclear-powered sky hotel that will run on 20 nuclear engines. It will remain suspended in the air for years without touching the ground. Better still, the airline will access the flying resort with electric planes.
Okay. So it's almost like a cruise ship in the sky for old people to be whistling tunes on, right?
Except it's going to be powered by 20 nuclear-powered engines.
Oh, yeah. What could go wrong there?
What could go wrong there? So, hey, there's nothing I'd love better than to know that could be looming over my head at any given time. Or perpetual nuclear bomb floating around the Earth for years to come.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, there's a lot wrong with the world, so just add on to it. Why not?
It'll host up to 5,000 people and never land.
Until it blows
Flying
up.
Hotel. When it does land.
Yeah. That's when we got a problem.
That's when we got
when we know we got a problem. Well, hey, speaking of problems, we got a lot of problems this week in celebrity deaths. All right, Podman Ron, where should we start here? Which was the one that hit you the hardest? We've got 3 to choose from.
You know the one that hit me the hardest.
First it was James Caan. Then it was Paulie from The Sopranos. No one knows his real name.
Oh.
And then finally the one that hit Podman Ron the hardest, Larry Storch. The late great Larry Storch. Let's talk about James Caan first, though. Okay.
Of course. Let's talk about James Caan.
Well, no, we want to get to Larry Storch here. James Caan. Everybody knows him from Godfather and Elf, pretty much, right? Is that
I know from Elf?
Alien Nation.
Alien Nation, yeah.
Yeah. The Program. He was in The Program, a football film.
Oh, okay. Brian's Song.
Yeah, Brian's Song.
Another football.
I don't want to give James Caan any shit because of course he was a kick-ass actor and kick-ass, but like he always played either a coach or a fucking dad or
cop.
Yeah, pretty much. That's all James
Coach,
Caan
cop,
played.
dad.
Yeah, pretty much it.
Not a wide range, is what you're saying.
He was great in Elf.
You're right. No great loss, PMR.
Can we just get through this guy so we can get to Larry Storch?
I feel like everybody's just going to just breeze through Larry Storch. And
I'm so worried about Larry Storch.
All right,
because the goddamn fucking James Caan. I mean, Larry Storch is like... If he would have died, he should have died 20 years ago and people would have cared, but
you're right.
Nobody cares now. It just proves you just live long enough. You live too long and no one gives a shit about it.
Your argument is that if Larry died in 2002, in 2002, if they would have broken in
big memorials, yeah,
they would have broken into Must See TV. Yeah. And ran a banner, a bulletin at the bottom of Seinfeld.
They may have. It would have been more like shocking.
Right. And the Iraqis are firing the ground to air missiles. Wait, this just in. Ladies and gentlemen, we have something even more important than the Iraq War to talk about. Larry Storch has died.
F Troop has died.
I feel like y'all are just making fun of Larry Storch.
No. We kind of are.
Hey, I was the one that broke that scoop. I was the one that posted that first. Obviously, it meant a lot to me.
Because I had no idea who it was.
I knew Podman Ron would.
You guys suck. I really do.
He was 99 years young.
Exactly. If fucking Larry Storch would have lived to if he would have died in an early age, everybody been upset. But no, it just goes to prove you live too long, no one gives a shit about
you become a villain, just like Batman said.
You become a burden.
Thank God. Yeah, his 68-year-old son is like, whew, thank God the old man's finally gone.
Now I can finally retire.
Now I can live it up.
You guys really suck. Larry Storch is a national treasure. Y'all just don't remember. He was like a Gilligan. I mean,
he was like a coach and a father to me. Yeah.
When I needed a strong male role model, I turned to Larry Storch.
Well, Ken Berry is dead, right? Speaking of F Troop.
I don't know. When I watched that the other day, I couldn't remember if Ken Berry had died or not.
Yeah, I wish there was.
And if there was only a machine that allowed
there's no way to tell. All right, someone else who died from a great TV show, Paulie from Sopranos, otherwise known as Tony.
When did Ken Berry die?
Sir,
2018, December 1st.
And no one made a big deal out of it.
Nobody.
They didn't break the news. That's just in. F Troop and Mama's Family starring Ken Berry has died. All right.
Holy shit! I didn't know Ken Berry died.
Yeah.
Just think, Brad. Just think of the send-off Walter Cronkite could have given Larry
Storch if he would have died in a timely manner. Yeah. If he'd had the decency to die when he should have. All right. Tony Sirico, Paulie, died at 79.
Oh!
All right. Well,
yeah, for someone who just finished watching The Sopranos recently, I will say that Paulie was the best part of that fucking show.
Oh, wow. And Silvio. Paulie and Silvio.
Who's Silvio?
Silvio,
the big fat guy?
The guy, No, that's Pussy. No, Silvio's, he was in the E Street Band. What's his name?
Little Steven. Steven Van Zandt.
Steven Van Zandt, yeah.
What did he play?
Silvio with
the guy
with
the big pompadour.
They all had big pompadour.
That's true. He played one of them.
Toupee.
Yeah, he said "Hey" all the time.
He's the one that would always do the Godfather impression. They'd want Silvio to do the Godfather impression. Pull me back in.
Did Silvio die in the last episode? I can't remember now.
I think they all did.
Oh, fuck, I don't know. No, Paulie didn't die.
Oh, he did now.
But Paulie was better than Silvio. I'll say that.
My biggest regret, I love The Sopranos. My biggest gripe about that show is that the guy that they ran off in the Pine Barrens never came back.
My biggest regret of that show is I watched it for fucking all 5 seasons.
A little twist there. I thought he liked it, and then he hated it.
Well, he watched 70 episodes of it. You'd think he might have liked it.
No, just that one character, Paulie.
Paulie was the best part.
All right, he watched it for Paulie. It's kind of like, he would watch F Troop just to see Larry Storch.
F Troop was a national treasure.
Yeah, I watched I go through Three's Company just to see Chrissy, that's it. Chrissy Snow. All right, another thing and maybe we can pick this up if we ever get around to doing another conspiracy theory podcast or something. The other thing that died was the Georgia Guidestones. I thought that was pretty interesting. And if listeners who don't know what that is, you need to go look it up, and you missed your chance now.
It's the modern Stonehenge.
The southern Stonehenge.
Built in this. Yeah, wasn't it built in the 60s?
I think 60s or 70s. Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting is there was a marker saying that there was a time capsule buried 6 feet under the marker, and when they dug it up, there was nothing there.
Interesting.
So
very creepy.
Yeah.
Well, going on with your story about the nuclear weapon that's going to be flying around the world, Georgia Guidestones had instructions on how to rebuild society if there was a catastrophic failure. So this is a perfect, storm of failure here. We don't know that. We won't know how to rebuild society after the nuclear bomb blows up and destroys half the world. But I ain't going to live
to use that.
I'm not going to live to the ripe old age of 99 like Larry Storch, so I don't think I need to worry about it. All right. 30 minutes in. Let's go to the TV shows, people. All right, we have a couple of TV shows that just ended. Stranger Things, Obi Wan, and The Boys. Let's hit on Stranger Things first. Anything to talk about that? I will say that I watched it all, but I kind of had to struggle a little bit through Stranger Things. And I think we talked about, the thing that I didn't like about it. It was enjoyable. It was fine and all. But again, the cast is so huge now that they had to break up the kids, which is kind of like, well, that's why you liked it in the first place, is because this group of kids that all kind of meshed well together and acted well together. And so they did the same thing that they did last season, which is splinter everybody off, and everybody makes 2 or 3 new friends and forms a group that way. And they kind of come together, but not really, kind of come together at the end to save the day. And then one of the people that they splintered off, that everybody loved Dustin and Steve as kind of a comedic, heroic duo, and they kind of replaced Steve in this with some other pots. And so it's sort of like, it feels like they kind of made same mistakes and didn't learn anything from the last season, in my opinion. That just like, well, there was interesting but less interesting.
There was a lot of retread stuff that you got to in the last 2 episodes. That's like, we've seen this shit before.
Right.
So, I had said that they're not going to have time to get everybody back in play.
Right.
Well, I assumed they'd at least get Elle in play.
Yeah.
Actually in Hawkins. She didn't make it back to Hawkins.
Right.
Hopper and they're all, they're not even in the country, So you had, the season 2 finale, they're in the gym, they get the salt, they get a kiddie pool, they create a sleep deprivation tank for her. So what do they do this time? They get a cooler and they get salt and they create a sleep deprivation tank for her. It's like, we've already seen this exact same scenario 2 seasons ago. Like, that was the big finale 2 seasons ago. So, and honestly, 2 seasons ago, at least the monster was attacking the location Elle was at, and they were actually in danger. This one, they're all just hanging around in a pizza place while she's in a bathtub.
Yeah,
very, very odd.
And they totally backseated Will and Mike the entire time. I mean, they were barely in it. And again, their haircuts didn't help any, so I'm kind of glad they weren't in it. But I don't remember people in the 80s having that bad of a haircut. Do you, Podman Ron?
No, we didn't have like
like Will and but yeah, they didn't use those characters, and whatever the boyfriend, Nancy's boyfriend's, I don't even remember his name. Mike? Was that Mike?
Yeah, Mike's her boyfriend. Will is the kid that got kidnapped in the first season.
So yeah, Mike was barely in it as well. And it's sort of like, well, everybody kind of liked those characters, but they keep introducing so many fucking new characters that they don't have any time to go to the ones that people like. So I don't know. Podman Ron, any thoughts on it? Did you finish?
What are we talking about?
We're talking about Stranger Things.
Actually, I mean, I liked it. I mean, I thought we finally had a face for a villain, which, to me, like the first 3 seasons really lacked. I mean, I think I really liked season 3 the best, because one of the reasons I like season 3 is because Billy was kind of the bad guy, so you actually saw a face for a villain with Billy, and I think that's why that season was really strong for me, and I think that's why this season's really been strong with everybody, is because we have a villain, we have a Darth Vader, we have a Doctor Doom, we have someone that is a villain that has a face and that mustache twirling. He's an evil dude, and I think that's what was missing from this series for the first 2 episodes, and first 2 seasons, and so I really liked it. I like season 3 still better. Just because everybody was in the same place. You didn't have this whole Russian crew, which, I was okay with the Russian storyline if it would have been like 3 or 4 or 5 episodes, but they just stretched it out to a point where it was like, okay, this is ridiculous. I mean, Hopper was, where the fuck his name is, was saying, we got to fight this demon, help the kids back home. Well, how the fuck does he know
How did he know what was going on back home?
And 2, it really didn't show it how it was really affecting the demon back home. I mean, they should have, when he struck the demon, with a sword, it should have showed something happening back home that, it is affecting. I mean, but it never really did. I mean, it so it was that kind of part was kind of lame. I thought it was kind of dragged out with Elle and the little water tank and all that bullshit.
Right.
I mean, it was like I like the origin of that.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
But I thought it was stretched out a little bit too long, and then again, poor Steve is shit on again. Probably the best character of the whole franchise, and it's like the writers just hate this dude because he loses his girlfriend the first couple of seasons, and now he's lost his little best friend that he gained.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying.
So
I don't know why they didn't keep him and Dustin together, because everybody kind of loved, and what's her face, the Ethan Hawke's kid, whatever her name is,
Robin. Yeah, Robin. I mean,
the three of them were fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that was kind of a cool. It's a cool storyline. He's a cool character. They got good, chemistry all together. So why are you fucking constantly fucking around with them? But whatever. But
yeah, whatever.
To me, I like season 3 better. But this was pretty close to season 3. And like I said, you do have a villain with a face now. So you're going into season 5, which is supposedly the last season, and it's I think it ended pretty strong with all that. So,
all right, Brian.
Yeah, well, that's one of the gripes that Millie Bobby Brown came out this week, I guess, in the interview, and was basically saying that the Duffer Brothers are sensitive Sallies, and they won't kill anybody. And I mean, she's got a point. Yeah. I mean, there's no reason why Hopper needed to come back. I mean, especially with what they had him do this season, right? I mean,
what he had to go through.
So it's like, Hopper didn't die. Papa didn't die, right? I mean, finally he died this season.
Right.
We're in season 4. We're in season 4. Why did they even bring him back? Like, you thought he died in season 1. So it's like, yeah, they don't. There's no reason why Jonathan should still be alive. He is the drabbest character in the whole show. Like, he does nothing.
Who's Jonathan?
Jonathan's Will's older brother.
Oh, okay. I kept saying Mike. Yeah, he's horrible.
He's horrible. Mike looks freakish. Yeah. Right. Like, he is.
We're worried about him.
Yeah, like, it's that. I think I said it last episode. Cute kid, ugly adult. Like, he is. It's rough. And with that haircut, it's really tough to even look at him on the screen. He looks awful. And so it's like, Mike was kind of relegated. I'm wondering if, he's highly sought after, right? Because I guess he was doing, because he's in Ghostbusters, right? And then some other films. Hopper's sought after. So I wonder how much of this was, well, we'll film Hopper separately than everybody else. We'll film Mike separately than everybody else.
Yeah, maybe.
And then the core and Millie Bobby Brown, so we can, especially since they got into delays because of COVID. So, like, to get the shooting schedule right, but
yeah, I think
they should have. When it got all dicey like this, they should have said, you know what? Yeah, just leave Hopper dead.
Yeah.
Or bring him back at the end of this season.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it was very. The first chunk of this season was really, really good. I almost wish they had ended it with the reveal of who Vecna was. That Vecna was number 1, and that'd have been it.
Yeah.
You've got whether or not Max is dead, right?
Right.
And what you did with Max, you've got Eddie. Everybody thinks Eddie's dead, but there's a theory out right now that seems almost too spot on for it not to be true, unless they just do it because they're afraid it's been spoiled at this point. But they added Argyle this season, they added Eddie this season, they added the guy that's off running around with Hopper, the Russian prison guard.
Yeah,
and none. Eddie may be dead, but it's like, how many more people can you add to this thing? And why the hell, Argyle's going to be in it next season, But it's like, why? His parents, he lives in California. Why is he just suddenly in Hawkins? He'll still be there.
Right.
So it's so bizarre. It is. Like some of the stuff they did. And her point of, they need to start killing people is dead on. But it's not like if they wholesale slaughter them now, it's going to be weird. They should have just let people die.
Have it onesie twosie, slowly.
Yeah, and
keep the main core
backfilled.
I mean, have the whatever, but keep the main core, and then maybe that again, who knows? But it's just it seems odd.
I mean, the reason you cannot keep. I mean, I understand why they haven't killed anybody. I mean, it changes the whole dynamic of the show. If you start killing some of these teenagers, I mean, then you've got to deal with then they've got to deal with each other's deaths and stuff. So I mean, right now, if they just fucking never die, then you don't have to deal with, someone dying. I mean,
and they don't even have to kill people off, but you could kind of write people off. Again, your cast is so big now that there's too many characters to keep up with, to make them interesting enough. Otherwise, just like Mike and Will, they get sidelined, which they were the stars of the first season, and now they're just nobodies now. And almost Elle as well.
Here's the thing, like, kill them or not, write them off or not, if you did kill them, and it's like, okay, now they've got to deal with the loss of these people, okay, that explains why there's a time jump. It's like, okay.
Right.
Jonathan died. We get to deal with that, and we're going to pick up the story later. 2 years later, 14 months later, whatever, and then that explains why Mike is now 6'3" instead of 4'9". So, then you could also have some time elapse. That's, this whole thing, we're still within a 2-year time frame of this starting and where we're at right now.
Right, because that's why I was surprised that Nancy's still in high school or whatever. She's like, I'm still working on the yearbook.
I mean, why couldn't she just go to... Couldn't she just go to Hawkins Community College and still be in Hawkins?
Right. Yeah,
it's very strange.
All right,
and then I posted this. Did you get strange things? I posted this, and this is what I was alluding to with Eddie.
What's that?
Eddie, now they're saying, well, Eddie's probably going to be back, and honestly, I can see. I think two things are going to happen in the next season. One of two things, or both. They've said that Max is brain dead. That's why when Elle went in to the black, and tried to connect with her, she wasn't there.
But she'll be back. I mean,
well,
what's the purpose of even bringing her to life if she's just going to be brain dead? I mean, that's kind of dumb.
Well, do you want to hear my theory or just
rant?
Yeah,
Podman, he loves a good rant.
So my thought there is she's an empty husk laying there in a bed that Vecna could possess.
Okay.
Right, and so that's how Vecna comes into our world as Max.
Okay.
So you could have the actress back, but playing a different character. Eddie, the rumor going around now is, and all this stuff has always been heavily steeped in D&D lore, right? Going back to the Demogorgon and all that stuff, right? Well, some people posted earlier that Vecna has a lieutenant that in D&D named Cass. Cass is a vampire that reports to Vecna, and they're saying that next season Eddie could come back as Cass.
Okay.
Because how was Eddie killed?
I don't know.
He was attacked by bats.
Ah, okay.
So he could come back as an undead, zombie, but they could name him Kaz because of the vampire sort of connection.
Gotcha.
So that's the other thing potentially that, and honestly, with the fact that they don't kill anybody, and if anybody pops at all, and everybody likes Eddie. If anybody pops at all, they just bring him back. So there's probably a good likelihood that not only Eddie's death didn't even stick this time.
Yeah, exactly.
I honestly like it. I mean, I will. I mean, Brad, we went to school with people like Eddie.
Those type of hairstyles we went to school with.
Yeah, I mean, he was absolutely. I liked him a lot. I thought that was a cool character, and the guy who played him did a fantastic job with it. So, it bummed me out when he did die. So,
but you knew he had to die because the whole murder plot for him, like there was no way to happen with him. There was no way he was coming back.
Actually, I didn't think he would, but
I didn't see that one coming.
I didn't see that one coming.
Is Vecna a real D&D character from like the Monster Manual, Brian? Do you know?
Yeah. Vecna's in the Monster Manual.
Okay.
In fact, Jacob's got the Monster Manual. He's got like the 3 I ought to.
See, I never knew that was actually a thing.
Oh, it's a thing.
Fucking nerds.
I know, fucking nerds. Well, anyway, I thought it was good, but a little bit of a letdown. The big cliffhanger now that, again, how are they going to do the time jump here unless they...
Oh, fuck.
Oh, gosh, Podman Ron dropped his phone in his coffee.
I did, sorry.
So the end of the world, or the end of Hawkins, the end of Buffy Summers, the Hellmouth opened up, and they're standing there at the end. Everybody mainly is together, but not really, right? Because even Dustin wasn't there. Again, kind of weird that they didn't even bring everybody there in the same physical place at the end. They're looking over the landscape, and all hell's breaking loose everywhere. So now what's going to happen? Are they going to have another, in real life, a 2-year jump? And the kids are going to be 8 feet tall. Yeah, I mean, what are they going to do here?
Yeah, if they do a time jump, then it's going to be this crater's been open in Hawkins for 2 years, and the government hasn't quarantined it.
Yeah, post-apocalyptic.
No, I think they said they're going to do a time jump. I mean, so I think they will do that. I think they will have the government's going to come in and quarantine the town and do all that good stuff going on with it. I think there's going to be a lot to that, but I do think, I mean, they did come out and say that there will be a time jump, so I don't know how long the time jump's going to be, but and I'm fine with that. I mean, there needs to be a time jump. I mean,
there should have been time jumps preceding this, though. Yeah, that's my point.
You're right.
Yeah, this
absolutely.
is the time not to jump.
Yeah,
absolutely. This is the time it doesn't make sense to jump. Yeah.
All right. Well,
so
go ahead.
I feel like like I said a second ago, I wish it had ended with episode 6 or whatever. Considering we came back to 4.5 hours between the last 2 episodes, and nothing really. I mean, yes, they fought and everything, but it's like, whoa. Why did that need to be 4.5 hours worth of storyline? Yeah. You know what I mean? I guess, getting Elle out of the facility, okay. The 2.5 hour finale where she's just in a bathtub and they're getting their ass handed to them in the upside down.
Right.
A lot of that last episode dragged. So.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it really did. That last episode did drag a lot.
But yeah. Anyway. I enjoyed the season much better at the first, not half, but the first chunk of it, release of it.
Yeah.
So
it was a little bit of a struggle for me to get through. All right. Well, speaking of,
and especially considering they didn't kill Vecna.
Yeah.
Right. So if you weren't going to kill Vecna at this end of this season, why did we even bother coming back?
Right. Yeah.
You might want to shoot the guy in the head too. I mean, I kept going, why aren't she shooting him in the head? I mean, you're shooting him in the body, you're shooting him everywhere, but
go for the head.
Go for that fucking headshot.
Yeah, we'll get to Thor in a little bit. Thor should have went for that.
Shotguns are unreliable.
They're not if you fucking shoot him in the fucking head.
If you aim it.
I mean, the guy was like right there at him. I mean, goddamn.
Well, hey, talking about unreliable, Obi Wan, and Podman Ron's having a problem here.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. All right, Obi Wan. Let's talk about Obi Wan and how unreliable Obi Wan is. At first, I thought this was going to be the best Star Wars TV show ever. Ewan McGregor, everybody loves him. The character, I think they've kind of made Obi Wan a more interesting character over the years, obviously from just A New Hope. But they kind of, he had a story and he was likable and all this kind of stuff. And then he gets his own TV show, and they kind of don't do anything with him. Everything that kind of made him cool in Clone Wars, whether it's the animated stuff or whatever, where he was a great leader and commander of the clone army and heroic and all that stuff, and not so much now. He seemed to have lost his power somewhat inexplicably, unless maybe they did explain it. But so that's the bad. The good is he interacted with young Leia, not so much with young Luke. It was just okay. I was the first episode. I thought this is going to be really good, and then it just, as with all Star Wars, kind of continually let me down.
You really took that from the first episode?
I thought, yeah, because again, I like the character. I thought that the character, like Ewan McGregor, had built this character from nothing. From Alec Guinness, who was just crazy old wizard, right?
Didn't do anything. Alec Guinness didn't hated playing in the movie,
right?
So,
exactly, right.
Yeah, he was phoning it in,
right?
So yeah, I mean, Ewan McGregor is the actual Obi Wan. I mean, he's the one that actually, like you said, put his heart and kind of soul into it and created this character out of the nothing that Alec Guinness put out there. But what's interesting essentially what they did was the Boba Fett treatment.
Right.
It's like
right.
Nobody watched what Obi-Wan was before this show. Exactly. Nobody watched. Everything you liked about Boba Fett was completely missing from the Boba Fett TV show. Everything you liked about Obi-Wan was completely missing from the Obi-Wan TV show. It's like they don't watch the source material at all. Right. So bizarre.
Go ahead, Podman Ron.
I was going to say, here's my take on the whole thing. Honestly, watching this show just kind of proves why Star Trek is better than Star Wars.
Ooh,
because
Star
Wars is a bunch of fucking pussies. I mean, the
Jedi.
I mean, my God. I mean, there is nothing heroic about them at all. I mean, here is the one person you could have probably said at the end of Revenge of the Sith might have been heroic, because like Brian said, or you said, I don't know which one, that, in the Clone Wars, he was this great hero and all that. So at the end of
General Kenobi,
I mean, at the end of Revenge of the Sith, he kind of goes to watch after Luke, and you would think, watch after Luke? What's he watching after Luke for? Because obviously he's not kept up with his Jedi training, so if they came and got Luke, what the fuck is he going to do? Because he's a big pussy. I mean, he's a big coward.
You've been stuffing that meat.
I mean, every time they showed him, it looked like he was, scared of his own shadow. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous the way they portrayed him. It was ridiculous, he's cowering in the corner. Poor Uncle Owen is about to fucking be massacred, and fucking Obi-Wan is cowering in the corner, saving his own ass. I mean, I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I mean, how far? I mean, I know there's the pussification of America right now, but my God,
here we go.
What the fuck?
It's a reflection. We haven't even gotten to the boys yet.
I mean, what the fuck is going on with Obi-Wan is hiding in the corner? And we're just going to let him, Uncle Owen's going to have to fucking die because, I got to save my own ass. I mean, that part was terrible. I mean, the way the characterization of Obi-Wan was pathetic. It was sad. Now, towards the end of this show, the fight between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, of course, that was the big thing, and it played out, and it was great. I mean, that part was fantastic, but to get to that part was just fucking. I don't know why we had to go through all that bullshit with Leia and the fucking third sister bullshit and all the other sad shit that we saw.
Sad Inquisitors.
They could have toned this down to about 2 episodes with just Darth and
just have Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fight. That's all we wanted to see.
That was the best part of the whole show, and it's not only because they were fighting; it was the characterization of, both of those characters and how they interacted from where we last left them. I said this was a great sequel to the prequels. It was not so much. It was not so much a good prequel to Star Wars because it made no sense why Vader and Obi Wan didn't fight like this in Star Wars, other than the fact that that was supposed to be a one and done movie back then.
Right.
But I could forgive that. But it was a great sequel to Revenge of the Sith, and
I can go with that
where they left off. But why in the fuck do they portray all the Jedis as a bunch of fucking pussies? I mean, Luke went away and became a pussy. Went away, became a pussy. Yoda went away, became a pussy.
Vader's the only one that got stronger when he got out of that mess.
I know. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why do we even have a Jedi?
Wait, can we pause a second? Are we saying that pussies are bad things?
Yes.
In this
universe, yes.
Well, yeah. Jesus Christ. Are you becoming like a woke on me?
He just woke up, Podman Ron. You woke him up.
So I took this whole conversation differently. I didn't realize that he was putting pussies in a negative connotation.
Yes, I think he was slightly negative. So again, we've said this before. I don't even know what
to call him now anymore. I don't know what to say. That's fine.
Less heroic than I would have expected. I think that's probably better. But still living.
Coward is a perfectly viable.
But still living their own life.
Word.
Yeah. Yella. Nope. You can't say yella.
Nope. Coward.
Okay.
Coward's the word.
We've said that before, that the Jedi are a cowardly lot.
I'm ready to check out.
But again, I kept going back to the General Kenobi, and probably he had more work to do in the Clone Wars, the animated series and stuff like that. But General Kenobi was a very heroic figure, and pivotal figure. And again, you would think that Yoda saying, "Hey, I need you to go to the desert planet and look after a little boy and peekaboo with this little boy. Keep your distance, but just watch him constantly." I'd be like,
"It is weird."
Okay.
That one scene where he's watching him with his binoculars with one hand and his hand down his pants with the other was weird. But
that was that's okay. That's not cowardly.
Stranger danger.
What was he going to do? He wasn't like he couldn't use the Force anymore. He was a fucking sad sack, eating fucking stealing meat. So he wasn't even watching Luke all the time. So what the fuck?
No, he was stuffing meat. Brian, did they tell you why he seemed to have lost his powers until Leia fell off the roof? And so you were just assuming that he was just kind of out of shape. Right?
It was Jedi malaise.
Okay. He's depressed, just like Peter Parker.
He's depressed.
Okay.
But there's all sorts of problems with that, because why is one? Think about how chauvinistic it is. There's two of them, right?
Right.
There's twins, boy and a girl. Go protect the boy because he's got a destiny.
Right.
The girl, maybe she'll marry somebody that's important, but go protect the boy.
Maybe she'll marry a rich guy.
So it's very,
whoa, but okay, you got a point.
All right, so there's that. Then two, and this goes back to the whole Captain Cody thing. When he just booked it off of Tatooine, he's like, oh well,
yeah, I got to go after this
yourself,
one,
Luke.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things they said was in the early sort of drafts of this. When he left, there was going to be Cody was watching over Luke so that he could be freed up to go rescue Leia instead of just disappearing. And then when Leia is the one that had the threat, he just drops her back off with the Organas, and goes back to the sand planet. So she's the one that was outed in all this, and he still doesn't watch over her.
Well,
very odd.
I kept thinking about the Sheena Easton song, "My Baby Takes the Morning Train" every time he goes to work.
Carve up the meat.
Yeah, he carves up the meat, brings it home to his little fucking
giraffe horse. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kept thinking of that.
Let's talk a little bit about Vader.
Hold on. Can I give a little observation as well?
Sure.
Like, what kind of putts must Qui-Gon feel like? Everybody in this series got stabbed in the stomach, and they all lived. All of them lived.
Well, fucking Darth Maul got cut in half, and he still lived.
Darth Maul cut in half, lived. Third sister stabbed in the gut. Fine. She got up, walked away, got on a plane, got on a Star Cruiser.
Got there before Obi Wan did.
Got there before Obi Wan did.
Driving.
Yeah, she was fine. Took on Beru, took on Owen, chased Luke through, like a cavern.
Yeah.
So totally fine. The Grand Inquisitor stabbed in the stomach in the first episode. Like when they fall, I mean, this is a plasma hot lightsaber, right? I mean, if you stab somebody with it and they fall, you probably cut through the rest of them,
right?
As they fell,
right?
Unless you immediately switched it off. Like how did either of them survive that? It's fine. It's fine.
It's all good.
Qui-Gon's Force Ghost shows up like son of a bitch.
Well, I heard he got a staph infection. He's got infected and just died.
Yeah, that's probably up.
And you know what? Let's still talk about the third sister. She's a horrible actress. I'm sorry. It's just terrible. I mean,
I thought she was fine for what she did, which was not a whole lot in the
yelling. So her plan was, which makes no goddamn sense, and that's not her. That's not the actress's fault. That's the writer's fault. So her plan is to lull Obi-Wan so she could lull Darth Vader.
Lure.
So she could, that too.
He's lulling me with his explanation. His explanation is doing a little lulling of its own.
The rum has kicked in. So, anyway.
Just now?
How does that happen?
What kicked in?
Is this going for a second round of kicking in?
Yeah, what was the rum chasing?
I don't know, but he said he was going to bust one out or something at the beginning. This is it.
So you're trying to draw Obi-Wan to get Darth Vader to come so you can kill Darth Vader, but you could have killed Darth Vader to begin with because you're standing there with him. So that made no fucking sense. I mean, that was the stupidest fucking... it makes no sense.
Well, the idea would be if she could get Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fighting each other, and then she turns and uses that advantage to take down Vader, okay. But she never pressed that advantage.
No.
She waited until she was one-on-one with Vader, and it was a fair fight to try and fight him.
Right.
Yeah, and then Darth Vader did his, bust the moves where he was like, can't touch this. No.
I don't remember that part. But,
again... Do you remember it? He kept like... Ron, you remember? He kept like moving it where the lightsaber wouldn't touch him.
Yeah.
You mean dodging?
I don't remember him wearing hammer pants or anything. Or
you mean he was doing something like dodging?
Yeah, dodging. I don't remember his hands on his hip and him doing the crab dance left and right.
Yeah.
Well, they should have played that song.
That would be good. Well, I mean, the thing that got me with the whatever her name was, the character.
Stop. Vader time.
Vader time. Is that, again, you can't just have a bad guy. I mean, she had to go on a redemption path. She had to turn good again at the end before she, whatever. So it's like, again, let's just have bad guys. Let's just have bad guys.
Exactly.
All right, so Vader and his hammer time dance. Again, Vader, I guess, looked cool. He moved. He had the moves. But again, still wasn't given. I would have liked to have seen Vader a little bit more, and maybe even have more of a build up. I don't know. There was a build up between him and Obi-Wan, but it still was just sort of like, I don't know. It didn't. Neither one of them felt threatened by the other, or something was missing there.
Yeah, I think what they did was they wrote the finale, or this was all supposed to be a movie, right? So they had this sequence for the climax of the movie, and they're like, oh, well, we'll make that an episode. But wait a minute, we don't have enough to do 5 other episodes, so I just make some shit up. Yeah. And they made some shit up.
Yeah.
So they knew at the end of this season, the average viewer is only going to remember that finale.
Right.
Nothing that came before it. So it didn't matter what they put on the screen before it, whether it made sense or not, whether it was acted well or not. Yeah, it didn't matter. But think about this, so Obi Wan goes from where we saw at the end of episode 3 to this sad sack 9 years later to he's on the upswing again to where we're going to find him at the end at the beginning of A New Hope.
Yeah. Crazy old man wandering around desert caves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. All right. Well, enough of that nonsense, I think. Let's move over to the boys. I've not seen Thor: Love and Thunder, so I want to hear your opinions of it so I can know whether to actually see it or wait. But before we get into that, the boys' finale happened just this past week as we're recording. Any thoughts on the boys? This was another sign of the times, as everybody is saying, that there's some allegories or analogies or comparisons that could be written towards certain modern day heroes, as they say. And certainly Homelander is kind of seemingly gone off the rocker here.
Well, he's been off the rocker since fucking season 1, dude.
Well, no, the difference is now he doesn't care, and the more nuttier he gets, the more kind of like a fringe group accepts him and encourages
now
that.
Podman Ron gets what we're hinting at. Oh, the fact that he could actually kill somebody in the middle of a crowded area, and then they cheer him on.
I would be right there cheering. I mean, I'd be like, good deal. That fucker needed to die. Jesus Christ.
So it's interesting. It's interesting what they're doing with
It's interesting. Character. They don't mind ripping stuff from headlines. You know, they did they made fun of Gal Gadot's Imagine All the People. That was funny. Right? They made fun of that. Where the boys is the strongest now is when they don't do the goofy, weird superpower stunts. The first episode we saw the whole thing with I don't know what his name was, but the atom ran up that guy's perineum, right? And then he accidentally sneezed and enlarged and killed the guy, And so that was like, but then you get to the finale of this season and the show, I've read the books and the show is better than the source material.
I was about to say, how much is close to the source material at this point in the show?
We're pretty far off the source material.
Yeah, I thought it probably was.
For them to come back to what the way the boys actually ends, they can't. There's no way they can, because Butcher's had this whole arc, this redemption arc with him and Lenny and everything. And in the books, Butcher goes unbelievably dark. He kills everybody. He kills everybody but Huey.
Yeah.
Right. And so he kills Frenchie. He kills Mother's Milk. He kills Amiko in the comic, and all because anything that deviates him from killing Homelander. Okay. Right. It doesn't matter to him. So he uses them, kills them outright, and it's down to Huey to take Butcher out. And I don't see them ever getting that. I don't see them ever going that route.
Well, they had their chance.
They had their chance, right? They had their chance. But the fact that Homelander, where it flipped, where it was like Soldier Boy was going to kill Homelander, he was going to give him what he wanted, but Ryan would have been collateral damage, right?
Right.
And then Homelander and Butcher had to fight together,
right?
And I was like, that's fantastic. I mean, that's so much better. It's like I was wondering, how do we get out of this season, because they were on such a collision course with each other,
right,
the whole time. And then that explained, well, that's how Homelander's going to live to fight another day. And now you get to see the whole thing with Ryan becoming this, his dark Superboy. Right. Very, very cool. I really dug the way the season ended. So,
Podman Ron, any thoughts on the boys this season?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was good. I enjoyed it. Actually, I mean, I'm going to miss it. Again, one of the reasons I hate these shows so bad is they're
so good.
They're good. They're like 9 episodes, and you got to wait a year or two before a season comes out. And this episode was this season was really, really good. I mean, I will say towards the end it was getting a little drawn out a little bit. But like the introduction of his son and the way his son is, turning on everybody, and is becoming another little asshole like Homelander. I mean, it was really good. I enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, I will say of all the shows that we just mentioned, this one was definitely the one where I kind of looked forward to it. like, oh, a new episode. This is great. I can watch a new episode now.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, Brian. I mean, the thing that was funny in I guess a disappointed way or whatever is all the hype that was over the Hero-gasm episode. And it was sort of like, well, that was not. I mean, even from a whatever like controversy standpoint, it's like, well, it didn't seem like it was that controversial, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you
went, it was kind of tame. I don't know.
If you freeze frame second by second, I guess there was stuff happening in the background, but that wasn't interesting to me.
Right.
So
right.
It's it was again just kind of like a stunt. It was like a stunt, like that opening sequence of the season was just a stunt. And it's like, the stories are so much deeper and so much better when they get away from that stuff. Like the things with Maeve all season. The Maeve stuff was great.
Yeah.
What all happened with Deep in A-Train, or the fact that they were trying, the early part of the season, they were trying to create these sort of like backdoor alliances, and Homelander knew the whole time.
Right.
When one of the other big deviations is you find out that Black Noir is kind of like Bizarro Homelander. Oh. He was like an early version of Homelander that they screwed up. And so that's why he can't talk. And when they pull his mask off, he looks like he's like a deformed, like a version of Homelander.
Oh, okay.
Wait, I thought he was damaged during all that shit with Soldier Boy.
No, that in the TV show, yes. In the comic book.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's another big thing they deviated from. Or the fact that, Black Noir's already off the table. Right? I mean, that's a big one. Black Noir was there towards the end. Black Noir was always like the Batman. So, and the fact that he's off the table, a lot of the stuff they're doing with, Homelander becoming more savage and people like cheering him on, that like alt-right sort of mentality, that wasn't in the book, but it fits.
Yeah.
In the show. So it's very, very good show. I almost wish they would really pull back on some of the vulgarity stuff, because that's the reason why more people aren't watching this.
Yeah.
Is if you're like, hey, you got to check out this show. How can I tell, somebody, an acquaintance,
12-year-old son,
a coworker, hey, you go watch The Boys, and they turn it on, and it's the atom running up some dude's perineum. Right? I mean, like how do you? Yeah, like I'm calling HR. So it's like, I wish they would abandon a lot of that stuff and get to more just the drama piece of it with some comedy, right? But leave the vulgarity stuff out.
Yeah.
It's not that kind of show anymore, and it doesn't need to be that kind of show anymore.
All right, look at that. Brian saying dial down the violence and the stunt violence.
Not the violence.
The stunt violence, I guess.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. So.
All right. But still enjoyable.
Very, very good season.
All right. You want to head to the movies?
Well, I've got
Can I do all our shows? What was
that was
cover all the shows?
We did, except for one that Brian's about to bring up. Your favorite show.
What?
Bosch. So can we do a quick what you're looking at?
You want to do that before the movies?
Yeah, let's do it before the movie, because that way we'll stick the landing on Thor.
What you looking at?
All right. So I looked at and finished watching season 1 of Bosch Legacy.
Oh Lord.
And then transitioned into The Lincoln Lawyer.
Wow.
For all our listeners.
You were steep in it.
Man, I haven't watched any of Bosch Legacy. We gotta wait.
Don't spoil it, please, Brian.
I'm not gonna really spoil much. The Bosch Legacy, it's as absurd as ever. All the storylines come together at the end like they have on all the other seasons. So when you get to the last 3 episodes, it gets pretty okay. But prior to that, the 5 episodes before that are just a slog to get through. Lots of Boschisms and
Boschisms.
Lots of Maddie making incredibly bad life choices.
The only time I wanted a cop to get killed is Maddie.
Honey Chandler mean mugging. So it's weird. We've said this before. They took the Bosch TV show on Amazon Prime, took the 3 least likable characters by far the least likable characters, and pulled them out and made a whole show around them. Like Maddie does stupid shit the whole time. Honey Chandler is PTSD the whole time from getting shot in the last season. And Bosch is just as obnoxious as ever.
It's terrible. Oh my God, he's so awful.
But yeah, so I finished. But in its defense, the last 3 episodes, and this is how it's weird, but this is the way Smallville was back in the day. Smallville would always have these just eye roll, groan worthy episodes, and then you'd get to the mid-season finale, and it kicked ass. And then you'd come back from, Christmas hiatus or whatever, and then it'd be, oh, God, you'd have one episode where they wrapped up what happened in the midseason. Then it'd go back into those serialized episode of the weeks where it was, just some, monster of the week nonsense. And then you'd get to the penultimate episode or the finale for the season. It was really, really good again. And they made 10 seasons out of that on Smallville.
Wow.
Smallville, you could literally go and watch, 20 episodes of the whole 10, of the whole 240, and have the best stories and never have to watch anything else. That's the formula that Bosch has. It's as soon as you want to quit it, and as soon as you're like, I can't take any more of this, then stuff actually starts to happen and play out. So, the last 3 episodes are worth the watch. You if you don't want to watch all of Bosch Legacy, watch episode 1 and then the last 3, because you're going to see all the setup, and then you'll see how it all comes together at the end, and then skip about 3 episodes in the middle. So, so Bosch Legacy. What pushed me into The Lincoln Lawyer was Lincoln Lawyer's on Netflix. Bosch Legacy is on Freevee or Amazon Prime. Freevee is the free version of Amazon Prime, kind of like their Tubi. Well, in the 3rd to last episode, it starts with a flashback of Bosch going to this house. And it's Bosch as right after he got out of the military, so he's like early 20s. Oh. And he goes up to this house, he starts talking to this guy, and you realize, oh, wait, that's his dad. So he finally found his dad, right? And I forget what they're talking about. Basically, he's mean mugging his dad about, his mom being a prostitute and getting murdered or whatever.
Whose fault is that?
Oh, yeah. So, but you see a kid in the driveway playing basketball. A kid so Bosch is like 23 or so. This kid in the driveway is like 10 or 12, right? Well, that's Mickey, right? Now, they don't call the dad anything but father. Even if you put on the closed captioning, it just says father. It doesn't say what his name is. And I'm like, shit, that's where they're going to connect Lincoln Lawyer, right? So I'm like, let's jump into Lincoln Lawyer, because I want to see if this kid, if they reference the dad and it's the same actor. Well, they reference the dad. They never say how he died, but he's dead. And the kid, or Mickey Gall, who is the Lincoln Lawyer, is Hispanic, which he wasn't in the movie. I don't think he is in the book. And the kid and dad in what appeared in Bosch weren't. So I'm guessing we're never going to get a connection between the two, which is so absurd. It's like if you have two shows that have a connection and you're trying to drive viewership, why wouldn't you do some sort of crossover? Especially if you didn't all you had to do was just cast the same actor as the dad.
That's
the
that's not much to do. Yeah, that's stupid.
You only called him father in this one episode. So if you go in the other episode and you say and then later on you do see a flashback of Mickey with his dad, and it's a completely different actor, completely different build, it's not, so it's twofold. It's like, why would they go to the trouble of showing Bosch's dad and young Mickey if they're going to completely do something entirely different, cast completely different for the Lincoln Lawyer TV show that aired 6 weeks after this episode of Bosch? It's so bizarre. And Michael Connelly's a producer on both. So
that's Bosch for you.
Very odd. Very, very odd choices. Considering that they're both lawyers in L.A., you'd think you'd see some reference to Honey Chandler. You don't. Or a reference to Mickey Gall in Bosch. You don't. So very, very odd. And the guy that have you guys seen the Lincoln Lawyer movie?
I did. I liked it. The movie.
Yeah, Lincoln Lawyer movie is very good because you got Matthew McConaughey playing the Lincoln Lawyer, and he's cocky. He's cocky. This guy that they got playing him is a sad sack. He's there's no flash to him. He's not a hustler. He just he's playing a paint by numbers lawyer in a lawyer TV show.
Huh.
So, which the whole thing with Lincoln Lawyer was, he was like Better Call Saul. Like he was taking court. He'd have to be in this court at 10 a.m. and that court at 1 p.m. and that court at 3:30. That's why he worked. They called him Lincoln Lawyer because he worked from the back of his Lincoln. He didn't even have an office. Guess what he's got in this show? An office. How often is he in the Lincoln? Not very often.
Doesn't need to drive anywhere.
Yeah, it's really bizarre, this show. And they cast his investigator. It is, you need to see it just for the investigator. The investigator, the guy they cast, I can't believe he has any sort of acting background whatsoever. He looks like a biker. He sounds like a biker. He's got this gruff, monotone voice, and he's dating Mickey's ex-wife, who she's attractive. And this guy looks literally like he should be on a prison, in a prison yard. It's very weird. Like, the casting of Mickey was super weird. The actors just as boring as you can possibly get. The characterization's weird. And then, I don't know. And then they didn't even bother to try and connect it to Bosch. So,
I don't think you've won Parman run over to the Bosch cast there, Brian.
No.
No,
Put a fork
I won't watch Bosch. I'll watch it because, what the fuck? Why not?
Come on.
It's Bosch. Come on. But I will not watch Lincoln Lawyer. I like the movie, and that was a good movie, but I could tell the TV show was going to be shit. So, and now you've just confirmed it. So,
confirmed it's a shit show, Brian. You ruined another show.
It. Yep. We should have stopped. I just kept watching, thinking, they'll tie this into Bosch on some level. Nope, they didn't. I was like, he'll get his mojo back. He didn't. Like, it's It's just bad, considering the source material in the film that we had, 8 years ago or whatever was so good. So, yeah.
All right. Well, there's your Boschcast for you.
Boschcast.
All right, let's go to the big one here. Let's go to the movies. I was thinking about Thor, Love and Thunder, and this is the most successful solo Marvel franchise, I guess, right? This is the fourth movie. There was no Iron Man Thor, there was no Captain America Thor. Did I say Iron Man Thor? Iron Man Thor.
Iron Man Thor, yeah.
That was a Freudian slip. No Cap 4 or no Hulk anywhere. So this was the one to break them all, to say, wow, who would have thought that Thor would be the breakout character to have 4 solo movies out there? But he did it. I had planned on going to see it this weekend, but just never got around to it. And then after reading a few reviews and everything, I'm like, maybe I can wait until it hits Disney Plus, or wait to see what PMR and Brian think about it, because Lord knows I trust their opinions of what makes a great movie more than anything else. So, who wants to start with Thor?
PMR?
I liked it. It got schlocky there in the middle with Zeus and Russell Crowe. I thought they could have done a better job with casting that, and the whole Dodge thing with Russell Crowe, and it kind of got a little messy in the middle there. Kind of got a little messy with, how they got to the whatever realm that they were trying to get to, where the bad guy was. You have to take Stormbreaker has to guide them in a big ship with 2 goats pulling it, but once that's done, then you can just Stormbreaker can just transport them there and back without any of that.
Huh.
All that was kind of weird, and it was kind of, to me, kind of messy, but
still enjoyable.
Yeah, I thought the humor was great. I know a lot of people complained about the humor. I thought Natalie Portman's stuff was good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was. I was entertained the whole time. It wasn't too long. It was. I never felt myself getting bored with it.
Good.
Chris Hemsworth was fantastic as usual. He's got. The dude's got comedic timing. I mean, he's got really. I think he's a funny guy. Now whether that's good for a Thor movie can be. But it's kind of funny how these movies have turned, because the first 2 Thor movies were so serious, and Thor, and then with the last one, Ragnarok, and took the comedic turn, and this one is just kind of taking up the baton and ran with it. The Guardians was great at the beginning with it, because they're at the beginning, as we all thought they would be, and not in the
right.
Probably the first 30 minutes, and that's it, and they take off, and they were pretty good in that. I liked it. I'm sure everybody likes to shit on it and stuff, but I enjoyed it. So there you go.
Well, there you go. Brian, overall thoughts?
There was some missteps.
There
was definitely some missteps. So the Guardians thing at the beginning, you could tell that was like, oh, well, the Guardians are coming back, and it's been a long time since we've had a Guardians movie, so make sure we put them in there somewhere.
Well, but they had to, because he left with them, so It was kind of like, I thought that was a cool kind of. He left with them, so it was kind of.
Was it cool? Was it cool the fact that they were completely ineffectual until Thor showed up, and Thor single-handedly saved the day?
Well, that was the part of. That was part of the story. It was like, that's why they were. That was, to me, that was funny, because they were sick of this shit. They were sick of Thor. That was part of it. He's supposed to be part of the team, but yeah, he did everything, and they were sick of his ass. So when he finally was leaving them, they were like, "Yeah, okay." And he was like singing this big farewell, and they were like, "Here's your shit,
flying away,
go away." That was pretty funny. I liked that. And it kind of showed that, yeah, he's an egotistical asshole. He was too powerful for them to be on their team, and he was doing everything. So I don't know. I like that part of it. I mean, I like that transition, the way they did that.
Well, that makes one of us. I've kept waiting for the opening sequence, like the first 10, 15 minutes. It plays out like an Old Spice commercial. So that's it plays out like an Old Spice commercial. The level of absurdity in the opening 10 minutes. There's one part where these two like jet bikes are coming at him, and suddenly they stop, and then it pans back, and you realize he's doing a split and holding them back with his feet. He's doing a complete, 180-degree, complete, split. Jean-Claude Van Damme split, holding them back with his feet.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was straight out of like an Old Spice commercial. Like I kept waiting for the little whistle,
But it wasn't. They were playing it for comedic.
Yes.
I mean, it was.
But Brian's saying it missed, though.
It missed.
He understands it was supposed to be funny.
I don't know. Everybody laughed in the theater I was in, so I thought it was funny. So I mean,
well, there you go, Brian. Did anybody laugh?
I don't remember. Here's so they went.
I'm exhausted.
And Taika Waititi said that like there's a 4-hour cut of this movie somewhere. We'll never see it, but with all these alternate takes on things and all these sort of gag sort of things, and essentially, they just. This was like, there was parts where it's like you were watching a Looney Tunes movie. It was like that, like absurd, some of the stuff that was happening.
Yeah.
And it takes you out of it. And it's like, okay, if you wanted to make a comedy, you can't make the fourth movie a comedy. Like you can have comedic aspects to it, but you can't just completely change the genre and say, this is the Naked Gun. It's very.
But they kind of did that. I mean, this was worse than the Ragnarok.
Yes.
Worse than they tried too hard, maybe.
Ragnarok, the funny moments came between the Tango and Cash sort of elements between Thor and Hulk, right?
Right.
This is just. There's these odd takes and these gags that more miss than land.
I don't agree with you on that. I mean, I get what you're saying because to me, it had tonal problems in the fact that we're yucking it up here, but then you have Jane Foster dying here, so. You have a tonal problem there, and I got that. But, like, I thought most of the jokes, and from the way the audience was responding, was they landed pretty well. I mean, I thought it was pretty funny. I mean,
so
Podman Ron had a great crowd to watch this with.
I had a great crowd to watch with it. Yeah.
I mean, we thought it was pretty good. I mean,
so there's one part, just Brad, to kind of encapsulate this, and PMR alluded to it, where they go to see Zeus, right? And Zeus is the leader of Omnipotent City.
Yeah.
Omnipotent City.
Right.
Which has never been referenced before in any way, shape, or form. And so all the deities live in Omnipotent City.
Right.
Right. It's groan worthy. Then when they see Zeus is trying to plan the fall orgy. Where are they going to have the fall orgy? And so, I'm sitting there and what kind of kids, how many kids walked out of the theater? Because he says orgy, no less than 4 times.
And
right?
let's not forget in Ragnarok there was mention of an orgy too. And so this director here, Quentin Tarantino loves to put some bare feet in a movie, right?
Right.
I think this is Taika Waititi loves to put a good orgy in a movie.
So he's wanting to get it out there. He wants the teens of America to understand. He wants them to go home and Google what does that word mean?
What's an orgy?
Oh,
Thor likes
so they kept referencing that. Zeus's thunderbolt was just silly. It was completely Oh, PMR, you admit
was it
this,
like
right?
a plastic thunderbolt?
I told you I didn't like any of the Zeus stuff. I thought it was. I already.
He did say that, Brian. Give him a break.
That. Yes, you're right.
So it's literally just like a metal bolt of lightning, and he
no,
can...
it wasn't even a bolt of light. Yeah, it looked like a bolt of. It's a little metal piece. I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't intimidating in any way, shape, or form. Like if you saw this next to Mjolnir or Stormbreaker, you're like, that looks idiotic.
Right.
Like it should have been. It could have been a spear that when he threw it, it turned into lightning or something. But no, it's like a metal lightning bolt, like a cartoon lightning bolt.
Right. And
he can break it and make it into knives, and he can put it back together, and he can throw it. Completely absurd. It was it looked so stupid. Like the lightning bolt. They spend so much time with Russell Crowe chewing scenery in that scene just so they can steal the lightning bolt, and that's supposed to be their big MacGuffin. That's what's going to get them. That's going to help them defeat Gore, the God Butcher.
Okay.
Right?
I was going to try to figure out why they did that. So okay, I'm with you now.
They wanted Zeus to give him an army, and he wouldn't, so they stole his lightning bolt.
Gotcha. And
then it looks like they kill him. Right? They kill Zeus, and they're all like, "Oh wow, what a dick he was! Glad I killed him." Like, so there's that whole scene where it's like these are supposed to be heroes. I mean, if you're a kid, like, wait, the heroes just murdered this guy because he wouldn't help them and stole his weapon,
who was essentially Odin, right?
Yeah, who was essentially Odin.
So it's like Thor. Yeah, okay.
So then, by the time all this stuff is done. It's like just a hop and a skip. There was no journey to where Gore was. It was like as soon as they got the lightning bolt, it's like, all right, let's go get him. It was like there was no. It was like they were in Omnipotent City, and then they were where Gore was. Right. There was no fight to get there. It didn't explain why they needed the boat. Right. Other than just for visual effects, or just so that they had something they could stand around on while they provided exposition, they really kind of the whole point of Jane Foster was in the comic, she had cancer, but Mjolnir, she met the requirements. She was worthy of picking up Mjolnir, right?
Right.
Not in this. They even like made this whole thing where it shows like them dating and how their relationship went bad, and
I like that part of it because for once you actually saw that they had a relationship. It wasn't just.
I'm not talking about that. Yeah, I mean that built right. That built on it. Right. Okay, what I'm talking about is when he leans over and he whispers, he goes, "Always take care of her," to Mjolnir. Yeah. So the reason why she was able to pick up Mjolnir is because Thor wished it. Okay. Not because she was actually worthy. So they kind of even like diminished her from a standpoint by even doing that. When they finally get to Gore, it resolves itself very quickly.
Yeah.
Like to the point where it's like there was no point where you thought Thor was going to lose, right? Like there was.
Movie. I hope he wouldn't.
No, but there's always you always have that
wrap it up, right?
Right, but you always have that kind of like, oh wait, is he going to be able to overcome? This is such a challenge. Can he actually overcome it this time? No, there wasn't really that sort of feeling of it because Thor is still yucking it up all the way till the very end. It's very odd. And then there's the whole thing where he convinced perfectly logical explanation. They go to eternity, right? There's
where do I start?
There's a Marvel character called Eternity, right? And it's like a character, and it's made of just stars and has like a half face. And so they go to Eternity, and the first person that gets to Eternity will be granted their wish. So Gore goes through all this stuff because his daughter dies. He gets to Eternity, and his wish is going to be to kill all the gods, not get his daughter back.
Right.
And so Jane Foster goes, you could just wish to have your daughter back.
He's like, you know what? You may not be wrong on that.
That's a great idea. So what does he wish for? To have his daughter back. Now, at this point, he's so injured that he dies.
Right.
Right? And he keeps calling her love, my love, my love, my love.
Love and thunder. I see.
So that's Love and Thunder. And then they telegraph several times that, I think Thor would be a great dad.
Right. He loves to doctor kids.
So now, at the end of the movie, that's where you get Love and Thunder.
Gotcha.
Is because Thor's her adopted father. There's also this weird thing about Stormbreaker is like a jilted lover because Mjolnir, he realizes Mjolnir's back and he keeps talking about Mjolnir and he'll talk about Mjolnir and then from off panel you'll see like Stormbreaker slowly move into panel like it's looking at him like this.
PMR like
and he's
that,
like, oh, Stormbreaker. Oh, I didn't see you standing there. He did that like 3 different times where it's like he'll start reminiscing about all the good times he had with Mjolnir, and then here comes Stormbreaker floating into the screen like this. So.
You gotta admit, it was funny. It was good.
The crowd that PMR saw it with thought it was great. They tested great. So how did PMR tell me how did Jane Foster even come into the picture here?
Well, she had the big C. She had cancer.
Okay.
So she's dying. She's got stage 4 cancer. And so she decides to, she reads some books and says, you know what? I dated a guy that, was magical. I'm going to go to New Asgard and look at this part that has magical powers that can give you strength and renew your health. So she goes there because in New Asgard they have manure.
Yeah, manure.
Manure's
there? Why is manure?
Mjolnir.
Oh yeah, the hammer.
Wow.
Why is the hammer there?
Because that's where it fell after Hell destroyed it.
Well, and then they've gathered it up and put it encased it as a museum piece.
Gotcha.
Here's the broken hammer.
And Valkyrie is there, right?
So what?
Valkyrie is there?
Yeah, Valkyrie's the king.
She's the king.
Okay.
And so she goes up to this display and it starts rumbling and then all of a sudden it just kind of goes to another scene in the movie and then next thing you know, Jane Foster.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
It's really cool. She did a good job. There were some quirky lines, but with her. But,
all right, so let me stop right there for a second. So if you're gonna go and use the cancer plot, okay, but it was like when they gave her explanation, she goes, "Yeah, I was just really tired, and then I got stage 4 cancer." That's not really how it works. I'm so tired. Maybe I have stage 4 cancer. That was the explanation, right?
Interesting.
And then it shows her mother in a hospital bed when Jane is a child, and presumably her mother died of cancer too.
Huh,
so she has a predisposition. She ignored the warning signs. She was tired, stage 4 cancer.
Boom.
So it's
roasted.
It's cancer for plot device. It's not like actually. So if you're gonna, and so the kids were like, Jane Foster dies at the end. Okay.
Spoiler.
And the kids were like,
what?
They were like, I thought that he'd wish for Jane to be healthy again, or Jane would,
watching.
Well, and I told him, I was like, you can't really do that. That's a cheat. That's going to be a cheat to anybody that has a family member that died of cancer. It's like, my dad died of cancer. My mom died of cancer. Oh, but Jane Foster gets to live. So you couldn't. She had to die at the end. So even that was just from a plot standpoint, you knew that where that thread was going to end itself, you know. And they also, you know, in the comics, the thing was she would take chemo, and when she would flip to become Thor, right, it would purge the chemo from her body. So that's why she wasn't getting any better. This, it was just mysteriously, she's just not getting better. She's just not getting better.
Oh, okay.
No, I'll correct you on that. They did say that by her using manure there, that was draining her of the chemo and weakening her where her body wasn't fighting the cancer either. So it's doing two things.
That's exactly what I just said.
So what?
That's exactly what I just said.
No, but you said that they didn't say that in this movie.
No, I said that it was that they didn't say that it was draining it was pulling the comic book said that. They never said that in this movie.
Yes, they did.
PMR said they did.
Went to the bathroom because they did. That was the whole.
No, she said we don't know why you're not getting better. That's all the doctor said.
That was the whole purpose of him telling her, do not use the hammer to come fight with me because the hammer is draining you. A, it's draining your chemo, and B, it's draining your body for to fight off this infection. That's why he told her to stay there, because he knew the hammer was what was draining her. I mean, that was the whole big plot at the end for him telling her to stay in bed and don't come. You know, I do not want you to come with me. And then she shows up at the fight at the end because he told her no, because the hammer was and her health. It was weakening her body, and because it was weakening her body, she couldn't fight the cancer. So yeah, that was a big thing.
You missed that one, Brian. Maybe your audience was too busy laughing at stuff to get the
maybe they were yucking it up.
All right. Yes.
So in a film where like one of the co-leads dies of cancer, it's probably the funniest one I've ever seen.
The funniest cancer death?
It's way funnier than Brian's song.
Captain Marvel?
Right. It's way funny. So, yeah, it's there's all sorts of tonal issues with this movie. So,
how was Christian Bale's gore? I've read that he is a fantastic, as great of a villain as Thanos or something along those lines.
I wouldn't go that far, but he was all right.
He's all right.
Yeah, I mean, he was. The character's well acted. You could tell he brought a lot to the character, more than you normally get from just a superhero villain. There was his opening sequence where they kind of explain him. Like his motivation was good. Some of the stuff they do towards the end, where it's kind of like his interactions are good, and some of the takes some of the ways he kind of performs the scenes, like the takes he does, are really good, because they're not your cookie cutter villain mustache twirling, right? So Gore was, I mean, he's a strong part of it, but he's really not in all that much of it, considering they quickly establish what his goals are and put him to the side. And so that he does his thing, and then he doesn't show up again until the end, and then it's really this whole journey of like a road trip. Thor, Valkyrie, and Jane Foster going on this road trip to get to find the pieces they need to defeat him. And so he didn't get much development. I wish you'd seen more of him, because he's probably the best part of the movie.
I disagree with that part, but I mean, I do agree with you that he didn't have much time with it. I mean, I liked his motivations, like you said. I liked that part. I thought that was a kind of a cool idea, the why he did what he did and why he was doing. It just kind of got schlocky there in the middle with the gods and all that. Yeah. I mean, I like the reason that he was going after killing all the gods, because they were.
He pissed off.
Old powerful assholes, and he had enough, and that his god had let his daughter die, and
all that was good, but like it just kind of like Brian said, he just wasn't in the movie that much, so you didn't really see the threat. You know, you should have seen him more killing some of the other gods. That would have been more of a, you know.
Yeah, if you wanted to, this is gonna sound crazy, but if you wanted to do if you'd taken the scene from Doctor Strange when Scarlet Witch kills the Illuminati and threw some of that in a little more intercut scenes of Gore killing gods.
Yeah.
You know, like, so it's almost like that should have been in this, where it flopped in Doctor Strange. It would have been better in this. But then it's like, well, what gods can he kill that won't insult somebody?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it's weird.
Well, speaking of gods, let's talk about the post-credit scenes. Let's spoil that for people.
What was the scroll that Natalie Portman found in the tent that let her figure out his axe was the key? I don't understand that. Someone was asking me that.
She found the scroll that basically told them how to get to how the reason why they couldn't find eternity is they needed the Bifrost to get there. And so since Heimdall's dead, Thor is able to channel the Bifrost through Stormbringer.
Okay.
But they had to have the Bifrost to get access to eternity. That's why nobody had been able to find it.
So the scroll that she found was the reason?
No, it basically explained how to get to eternity. They needed the Bifrost.
Yeah, Google Maps.
Oh, okay. So the scroll kind of told her that you could get it through Storm?
Well, not Stormbreaker. It said you needed the Bifrost to access it. But since Asgard is destroyed and Heimdall's dead, the only way Thor can channel the Bifrost through Stormbreaker, but he's not very good with it. So that's why they did the whole thing with the ship.
Okay.
Of course, at the end, he can... he's
an expert.
If he needs to get somewhere, he's great with it. But if the plot is that they want to see these two goats pulling this Viking ship, then suddenly he's not so good at it.
Toothnaster or whatever. Did they name him?
Yeah.
Toothnaster and Toothmonger?
They didn't.
No.
Yeah.
What was it called? The Bifrost?
The Bifrost is the Rainbow Bridge.
Now he's just...
You don't know that?
He knew that.
I knew that.
All right, post-credit scene number 1. Which one was it?
You come back and you see, is the first one the introduction of the new character, or is that the second one?
I think that's the second one, is the new character.
Yes.
What I've read.
No, the first one's the new character.
Okay.
So new character. So basically, you see that Zeus is not dead. He had the lightning bolt thrown through his chest, but he's right dead square in the middle of his chest, but he's not dead. And he said, "What?"
He's Zeus, of course.
All right. And so Zeus is talking to someone off screen, and he says, ever since superheroes are a problem, nobody cares about the gods anymore. Because they have superheroes and they can look up in the sky and they can see superheroes where they have to have faith in us. I'm sick of superheroes. If they want a superhero, we're going to give them a superhero.
Aha.
And then it pans around and he's talking to Hercules in full Hercules costume, who is played by
Ted Lasso.
Guy I didn't know.
Brett. What? You didn't know who that was?
Oh, I had no fucking clue. I had to look it up. I was like, who the fuck is that?
It's played by Brett Goldstein from Ted Lasso. He plays Roy Kent.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Roy Kent from Ted Lasso.
All right. And does he say anything? But he has the green and gold tunic or whatever, all that stuff. He looks like Hercules.
And he's got the baton, the bat thing, the Hercules bat thing. So...
Very cool.
But yeah, so we finally get the debut of Hercules.
Good.
Yeah.
And then, if you've got another movie and it's going to be Hercules versus Thor, okay. That's fine. You could do Greek gods versus Norse gods, right? I mean, you could have that war, which would kind of be interesting, right? So kind of interesting. You then you get the second post-credit scene, which they keep talking about Valhalla, and Sif loses her arm in battle, and she with Gore. You don't see it, of course. I don't know why you didn't bother seeing it. They didn't bother showing it, but Sif is back. She's lost her arm to Gore. Which, if she cut her with the necroblade, doesn't that mean you're going to die? I mean, the necroblade's going to kill you, even if it's just a flesh wound. Correct?
This is a flesh wound.
But I mean, that's the whole thing with the necroblade. Anyway, so her arm's cut off, and she keeps talking about, I'm gonna don't save me. I'm gonna go to Valhalla. And Thor's like, well, you can only go to Valhalla if you die in battle. He's like, you survived the battle. So then she gets out. But, they keep talking about Valhalla. So, at the end, Jane Foster's going to Valhalla. So, the end, it shows Jane Foster, like, walking down the Rainbow Bridge into, these like, Irish moors. And there's lots of white light and everything. And Heimdall standing there. Oh. And Heimdall welcomes her into Valhalla. But here's the thing. I don't remember Heimdall and Jane Foster ever meeting. No, I mean, I guess maybe they did, but...
They met because she went to Asgard in the second...
Oh, yeah.
But, he met her for like 5 minutes at the most. But,
But that's who welcomes her.
Let me correct you there. They dated. They had a montage. They dated for a while. So I'm sure during all that dating time that she went back and forth with Asgard.
Yeah.
Perhaps so. But here's the thing, Brad. Let me ask you this. So if you die in battle,
right,
and you can spend eternity with your loved ones,
right,
or spend eternity with the guy you dated's in-laws,
right,
which would you choose?
Well, wait a minute now. Wait a minute now. You're not guaranteeing eternity at all. I mean, we're just Christian faith. We hope there's an eternity, but maybe not.
Well, that's my point. Is if Valhalla exists,
right,
heaven should exist.
Yeah.
And if you're telling me Marvel's telling me that Valhalla exists and heaven doesn't, we've got bigger problems.
Kevin Feige's off his rocker.
But think about this.
If I can eat grapes with some withered food and grapes.
Podman Ron's lost his voice there.
I don't want to see these fuckers.
Okay, there you go. So the choice is you can spend eternity with the friends and family of the guy you dated 8 years ago,
right?
Or your actual loved ones.
Yeah, your mother who passed away from cancer. Yeah,
who they established in the movie.
Right.
You can see your mother again if you went to heaven, but you died in battle, so you got to go to Valhalla.
Yeah, but what if there's no heaven? You don't know. I mean, she could be just dirt.
That's what Brian said. Well, before we get into theological.
Hold on. We just went to Omnipotent City. All gods exist.
Which is the problem.
Are you saying all gods
except for one?
But one?
There's one that doesn't exist.
Did you see Jesus hanging around there? No.
I wonder if they put him in the background somewhere or another. That'd be great. Like
He's doing
there. Like turning water into wine for Bacchus or something like that.
Any of that? I didn't see the Christian God, so.
They did say that this came out like in the last day or so that originally Russell Crowe was not supposed to play Zeus. He was going to play Satan. So.
Why not? Well, let me ask you this. I mean, didn't the first Thor movie kind of establish that, and this goes into the comic books lore as well, sort of, that the Asgardians are really aliens that kind of visited Earth, and the Earthlings said, in Swedish said, oh my gosh, you're like gods to us, and we're going to worship you and all that stuff. But they weren't gods. But now in this movie, it seems to establish that to your point, Brian, the whole pantheon of gods, Roman, Greek, Hindi, Christian, whatever, seem to be existing in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, all of them exist. So...
Yeah, so it seems like that's... I mean, I always thought, especially with Wonder Woman as well, it's hard to mix in the God stuff with superhero stuff. It feels like that's a misstep.
I always felt like, until just like 2 seconds ago when y'all just said that, I didn't really think about it. But I always felt like Marvel did a great job because they said in that first Thor that all magic was just a different type of science.
Right.
And that the gods were just... alien beings that came down at some point or treated them as gods because they were able to do what they were to do. So,
right.
But now they've just kind of, they've kind of gone back on that a little bit. So, all right, mind blown.
Fine by me.
Boom, whatever.
All right, so let's wrap this up with a review. Brian, what's your review of Thor, God of Love and Thunder?
I'll give it a 3.
Solid 3.
3 out of 5.
Okay. And a 1, I assume?
A 1.
Okay,
a
worth
1.
a watch. All right.
Here's the thing. It's for everything we've said about it, if you look at Phase 4, which Phase 4 is Eternals, Shang-Chi, right?
Right, I guess.
No Way Home.
I can't.
Well, it's the second strongest Phase 4 movie.
Yeah, true, but that's
out of
what though, does it?
Right. Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man: No Way Home, and Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness.
And I don't know, is Spider-Man a phase movie? I don't even consider those part of the phases.
I don't. But they're saying it's part of the phase.
Okay.
But yeah,
all right, fine.
It's better than Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
All right. Which before we get, I've watched Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. This is on Disney Plus now, but I stopped it after the Illuminati scene. That was like 2 weeks ago, and I haven't regretted my life since. So I don't know what happens.
I don't think that's that bad of a movie.
All right, well, you like Shang-Chi too.
Here's what I did appreciate about Thor. None of the stupid Kang bullshit's in it. None of the Eternals bullshit's in it. None of the multiverse is in it. None of it. So it's completely standalone. None of the garbage that we've had to none of the shit sandwich we've had to swallow for Phase 4 has been in it at all. So from that standpoint, that almost gives you an extra point just because
it's a good
you don't have it's a good it's standalone. You don't have to watch anything else. There's no other connectivity to any of the other Marvel stuff. And I've hated Phase 4 so far.
Right. So there you go.
So
PMR, what's your score for Thor here?
It's going to be like a 4 out of 5.
Okay, that's a reasonable number.
Yeah, I like this movie because, like Brian said, it was pretty much standalone without any of that multiverse stuff. I like the humor. I thought in a world that we live in now that everything is humorless and you can't make fun of anything and have fun anymore. All the jokes, man.
This one was making fun of those Greek gods.
I think this movie is funny. I mean, I feel myself. I did. One of my problems I'm having with this movie and with Miss Marvel, and we'll talk about Miss Marvel next week. But no one talks about the blip. I'm kind of like.
I think it's over. I mean, it's
forgotten about the blip. I would like to know. It's just
nobody talks about the mortgage crisis anymore.
Oh,
Nobody talks about the mortgage crisis anymore.
Except for Brian.
You would
to talk about that fucking mortgage crisis.
It exist for 5 years. You would. I mean, I'm gonna. This is still within the year of coming back. So if you didn't exist for 5 years, some of that. I mean, somebody would say something. It seems like, but no one appears to. I mean, everything's just back to normal, which is just kind of weird. I mean, I know they harp on it too much, but that's my thing. And I kind of think that I don't know if Marvel's going to use this, but if they want to the next storyline would be and want to keep Thor in the Marvel universe, they can really Doctor Who Thor really easily. And I'm pretty sure Brian knows what I'm talking about is, with Ragnarok, coming out and all, and they featured every death Thor characters have died in the past 2 or 3 movies. You can go back and recast everybody, including Chris Hemsworth as Thor, and kind of Camelot 3000 and everything, because they did that in the Thor comics back in the early 2000s, where, the World Tree, after Ragnarok, Thor was dead, and then everybody came back, and he was reborn, and all these, the Warrior 3 and Sif and Odin and Loki were all like regular human beings, didn't know they were, Asgardians until Thor kind of woke them up from it. It's a really cool concept, a really cool story. Camelot 3000 did it the best, of course, but since no one seems to fucking want to make that movie, they could really do that with Thor 5 and recast Chris Hemsworth in someone else's Thor. So,
but he didn't die.
Not yet, but everybody else has died, and I mean, and
I don't see them doing that after the scene we got in this, because you have Korg telling the backstory, right, of what brought us to this point, and it shows, Hunan and Valstag and Fandral. It shows them dead, and he goes, and then this guy died, and whatever that guy's name is died, and this guy, and so it shows them dead, but he doesn't even know their names. Korg doesn't even know their names, so they're making a joke about these people died and were completely unimportant. So, yeah.
Well, you've convinced me that I don't need to rush out and see this movie. I think, guys, that's what you.
No, I think what you do, if the way they teed it up for next movie, you do Greek gods versus Norse gods. You finally bring in Balder the Brave. You bring Loki back in. You bring in. What other? Oh, you bring in Enchantress, right? You bring. We don't. You could even say that Executioner survived, right, or something like that. But you bring in Norse gods, and then you take on the Greek gods, and you have Hercules and Zeus, and you can even bring in Jason and the Argonauts.
Ooh. Yeah, maybe that feels even more uninteresting to me. You're taking me out of it, Brian. But
I'm just saying that's I think that's what they're teeing up anyway.
All right.
And then it's standalone. You get to introduce these other characters. You've basically got JLA versus Injustice Society. You've got like Team Asgard versus Team Olympus. So yeah. Anyway.
Shout out to like Jason. Can you imagine your Jason? What's his name? Aaron, who wrote Thor?
Jason Aaron, yeah.
Can you imagine your story from like what 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago, is now featured in a movie? I mean, when this Thor franchise first started like 10 years ago, this guy wasn't even writing Thor.
When Thor started 10 years ago, Thor was dead. That was during the whole Ragnarok thing, because they took Thor off the table because they didn't know what to do with him, and they brought Thor back after phase 1 started, because they knew they were heading towards. But Thor, they canceled the Thor book, and it was gone for probably 2 years. Thor was dead.
So now this guy, he comes on the book, he writes this Jane Foster story, this God Butcher story, and now it's picked up in a major motion picture. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, because
that's the way Hollywood works.
Yeah, but it's, to his credit, the Jane Foster story, is stupid as it sounds, it's a really good story in the book, and I mean, it was a good story in the movie. But I mean,
it works. I mean, it really played out really well in the books.
All right, you're going to talk yourself up to a 5 out of 5 pretty soon, Podman, right?
Yep.
No, I was going to say my favorite thing though is to listen to people talk about how Natalie Portman got all ripped. But if you see behind the scenes stuff, you know that was all CGI. I mean, honestly, really she's wearing the dots on her arms and these things on her arms.
Mm.
If you look at these behind the scene photos and stuff, and she doesn't look big whatsoever. I mean, she looks toned, but she doesn't look big. But she's wearing the dots that, the CGI stuff.
The lies of Hollywood.
I know. I'm like, and everybody's like all goobing out about it. I'm like, that fucking is all fake. I mean, they just CGI'd that shit.
Is it not weird that in 4 movies we still haven't gotten Beta Ray Bill?
Everybody wants Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah, you're right. Honestly, I wish we would get Beta Ray Bill. That was a cool storyline.
So we still don't have Beta Ray Bill. They kind of use Throg as kind of like a throwaway, but if they were ever going to put Throg in an actual movie, this was the one to put him in because everything was so out there. They weren't even trying to when you watch this and then you go and watch like Guardians or something, you're like, you can see like Guardians was funny. Guardians, at the end of Guardians, there was a dance battle, for Christ's sake. But now you go into this movie, and that dance battle looks completely plausible compared to the stuff that happens in this movie.
I mean, I like this. I like all the space stuff. I like the fact that they put Thor in space because that's really where he needs to go. I mean, because he's too powerful for Earth, he doesn't fit in Earth, so they put him in space. I mean, that's where. I mean,
I'm not talking about the fact that he was in space. I'm talking about the fact that
just the goofiness.
Just the goofiness of the plot, the story. So,
I like it.
All right. Well, Podman Ron liked it, and you're not going to change his mind. All right. So next episode, as we're well past our 2-hour mark on this one.
I know.
Oh God. Hopefully the servers will be able to handle all the downloads of this episode. Miss Marvel.
Can I mention something real quick?
Real quick.
What?
So, have you guys looked at our Instagram page lately?
No one has.
So,
I'm going to start boosting that.
Yeah.
Everybody, check out the new Instagram stuff I'm going to be putting on the Instagram.
There was a point where we had 70 followers,
1,000?
right?
70,000?
Yes. Brad, pull up how many Instagram followers we have now.
Let's see what we got.
7.
Even the bots are dropping us.
Well, that's what I'm going to say.
81?
It's 81?
81 followers, yeah.
Oh, when I looked the other day, it only showed 10. It literally only showed 10, and I'm like, I guess they shut down all the bots.
No, yeah, exactly. No, those bots are still
Elon
active.
Musk.
They love us.
Oh, there you go. It must have been a glitch. But I was like, well, thanks a lot, Elon Musk. You lost 70 of our...
No, we're Instagram, not Twitter, right? You're talking about?
Yeah, Instagram, not Twitter.
Yeah. Okay. We have all of social, Podman.
So, go like us on Instagram.
Yeah, please. Bolster that up.
Yes, whoever listens to this, follow us on Instagram at what's our Instagram?
The Podman.
Is it the Podman? One word?
Yep, all one word.
Yep, that's how social media works.
The Podman. Follow us at the Podman.
All right. Well, until next time. That sounds like a great time to wrap up right there, Brian.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Save it for the podcast.